Hey yo, peace. This your man, Honorable October 9, and this is the Art of Thinking Out Loud podcast. We're gonna have this as like an impromptu little session because I'm actually recording video for my podcast now. This is kind of an impromptu thing. But I'm gonna get on to my subject matter. What I want to talk about is paying closer attention and using your common sense a lot more. That's something you don't see people really do a lot nowadays. You see, like a lot of folks, we've all been kind of lulled by media. And when I say media, I'm being broad. I'm using a very broad brush saying media. Media is anything that we digest, or should I say, we ingest. Music, television, our social constructs because of what we take in through music, television, smartphones, and the internet thus forth. Now, with that being said, we have to, when I say common sense, and when I speak about paying closer attention and using our common sense, we all know by now, common sense ain't common. That's no secret. Common sense ain't common. That's been a saying since before I was here because people rarely use it. When they really should use it. And when I say really should use it, I'm talking about in just day-to-day aspects of your life, not just when you're going to the grocery store and stuff like that. No, thinking about things you've been taught historically, things you were given through the education system. What did the education system prepare you for? Did it actually get you ready to come out into this real world? Or as I said on a previous podcast, did they just kind of teach you the same information in longer format? You start out learning 1+1, and then they take you on to division, algebra, and so forth. But not saying that you don't need those things, but I'm saying this. When they teach you these things in a way as to where you basically just learn adding, subtracting, multiplying and dividing. You really don't learn much else outside of that because everything else you learn, if it's not something that you can then readily apply to something you're doing in your life, then not saying that it's wrong to know this information, but school gives you a lot of information that I look at as it's like I'll say this, it's fluff. It's fluff. They feed you fluff. It's kind of like when you buy products and they tell you that the product has, this additive and preservative in it, or it has, this, that, and the third, MSG, and so forth and all of that. That's fluff, proverbially. It's just, it's shit that's added on to give it, more form, more substance, a better appearance, to give it a shelf life, which is what this education system has done to us. It's created a shelf life of how our perception has been now formed. We grew up in this system. We grew up learning in the way they taught us. Like I said, I believe that we were all purposely stagnated. I believe we were all purposely stagnated from the time that we were born, up until we hit the education system and went through those 14 degrees, 13 degrees, plus of their education, meaning we learned what they wanted us to know, not necessarily what we actually needed, because we didn't know how to start a business, buy a house, even go about going and even creating a situation where one could possibly purchase a house or start a business. We don't even know the basics of how to start a business, how to get loans, what to do, how to get our credit together. None of that. School taught you none of that in 14 years. I'll reiterate what I said in the former podcast. I believe by the time we hit the 5th grade, meaning your 5th degree, you should know about purchasing land. Because I believe that's one of the basic principles of our existence, is we have to know how to have our own land, how to have somewhere to stay, something to own, something to call your own. We don't do that. We get out here, when you come out of school, like I said in the other, school basically made us all into kind of like, you have your own personality. So with this limited education coupled with your own personality, some of us will pick up on other things faster, some won't, but we all will have achieved the same basic level of knowledge, meaning we can all function amongst one another and know how to operate. Not how to build anything economically, just how to function. School teaches you how to get to a level where you can function. So a lot of people make it through school illiterate. They can't really read or write. They can't really read or do mathematics and everything as good as some others. So therefore, you have a lot of functioning illiteracy. Yet they can still go and get a job, work, and that's what school designs you for. School prepares you to become a worker. You don't prepare to become anything beyond that until you then pay for college. You pay for college. Now they're charging you for what they should have taught you 7 years ago, free in the public school system. If this education system was really designed to put out, the next generation of thinkers, builders, creators, artists, architects, historians, all of that. No, it's not. It's designed to put out the next generation of people who will copy what was done before it, because it's all a scripted format. This is why I say use your common sense. Just think about things. When you couple all of this with religion, yes, this is all relevant to paying closer attention and common sense. When you couple all of this with religion and the way God is given to us, or this being, this entity, this spirit, this all-knowing, omnipresent God is given to us. It's structured already when you get here. So by the time you're born, your parents have already been given this narrative. Their parents were given this narrative, so forth on back, meaning now it's moving through you genetically. It's moving genetically. So you're born sort of sort of predisposed to have this same to follow this same narrative once it's given to you by the outside sources that you hold close. This is what God is because that's what somebody told them that God was. Meanwhile, you have this education system that's giving you a limited knowledge on where you can go. It prepares you to become a worker, not an owner. It prepares you to become a worker, one who you'll be the one. Society prepares us to be the ones who will keep everything going because we're the worker bees. Not saying there's nothing wrong with that because you can build a great lifestyle working for somebody else your entire life. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that the wealth doesn't come into a factor where you start actually building wealth until you have economic circumstances where you now have more of society becoming entrepreneurs, networking amongst one another. That's how you get cities going, townships going, business networks going. When you have just a bunch of workers, all you can do is form coalitions, local this, so and so that, this, that. Don't get me wrong, these are powerful organizations, but it's nothing like when you actually own the company, your own company, and you have other company owners and everything. Then it's like you now have leverage on politics, local politics in your area where you do business. See, because if you don't own anything, then you can't claim anything truly affects you because they look at it as, you're not a business owner. You're not one that's readily providing a service to society to where you would be affected by any type of real economic change on a more grandeur level. A lot of us, we don't feel these economic shifts until, I don't want to say it's too late, but it's like those who own businesses and who have thriving businesses, corporations, and things like that, they kind of, you control your destiny more because you now no longer have a cap on how much you can make and what you can do. When you work for somebody, you're under contract to do a specific job. And if they fire you, then you now have to go seek employment somewhere else. When you work for yourself, yeah, you can still work for people, but you're working for people under contract. You're not tied to them indefinitely. You're tied to them only for a limited amount of time until work is done. And once the work is done, if it's good work, then then those people will reference you. You'll grow, other businesses, network, and all that. But the way things are set up, it's not like that everywhere. And that's done on purpose. But just kind of steering into paying closer attention. I'm gonna get off of the business aspect for a second and just kind of talk back onto paying attention to how we're gonna go back on the religious side because that holds real good relevance on the business end too. When you're giving God in a book, in a box, in a concept, in a construct, in a situation, yet you have feelings within yourself that something is different, something isn't right, but And when your natural instincts cause you to question those things, then others around you who are more plugged in and less likely to question those things will then make you feel bad for questioning those things, which then traumatizes you subtly, emotionally, and thus leading on to a spiritual traumatization, because most people wind up falling right back into the fold. Myself, I chose to unplug from the whole shit. People like, well, what the hell does that mean? Are you an atheist? No, I'm not an atheist. When I say I unplugged, I'm saying that I'm opting out. I'm opting out of the concept construct. You're not going to define what quote unquote God is for me. That's where I'm going with this. Nobody should be able to define. You should be able to say, if you wanted to, I don't need this Bible anymore. I don't need this Quran anymore. I don't need this following. I don't need this. I don't need that. I don't need any of that, because I know. Just to kind of use the scriptures, as they say, the scripted program. Keep telling people what you're doing is sticking to the script. As it says, stick to the script. Scriptures, stick to them. But when you look at the scriptures are what? The scriptures are somebody else's artistic rendition. It's an interpretation of their own personal feelings on life. That ain't just what it is. You don't have to believe that word for word, verbatim, follow that. This is what you're just supposed to do. Hell no. Okay, look at it like this. When something happens to you, does it just readily affect other people? No. When you mention God and somebody else mentions God, and y'all talk long enough and you disagree, or if you find out that you're from two different religions, what's the first thing one of them will say when there's a disagreement on some type of scripture, some type of, situation within the God concept? They'll say, well, my God. They'll personalize it, because that's the only way God exists, is if you personalize it. Because when you say God, that's a broad brush. That's a very broad brush. God. Because when you say God, you're saying that you're allowing everything else out here to define what God is to you personally. That's why I'm just not for the God concept. Oh, the supreme creator of all of this and this and that, is this and that. Okay, so what happens when you find out, and that's something else too. How do you know if you ever truly find out? Because you may plug yourself so deep into some shit while you're here having this experience that you might just bypass, common sense, that this ain't everything. But I think a goal of this existence here, while we come here to have this experience, I think that the powers that be, I won't call them the elite, no, they're not elite, they're just powers that be. The powers that be, large corporations, media, all that type of, everything that's associated with them, big business marketing. These are the ones who put together this reality construct that we have to follow. They all support the education system. They support what's on television. They support what's on radio. They support what's on the internet. Their marketing comes on in between porno movies. Their marketing comes on in between church programs. The same internet, the same provider that gives you your Sunday morning service with God and Jesus and, you know, Allah, Vishnu and Jehovah and all that, also gives you porn. Also gives you, you know, everything else that go along with that. When you look at the social media networks, I don't care what network you name, their main primary algorithm that goes 24 hours a day, never in decline, is booty, asses, 24 hours a day. That never drops an algorithm. That's the reason Instagram, you go to Instagram to look at booty. Twitter is going to come down your timeline. Facebook is going on, especially in the groups, you know. And I think it's because a lot of people don't realize that the internet is mainly porn. I mean, that's no secret. That's nothing that we have to be like, oh shit, no, I disagree with that. Fuck it. You could disagree, but it's the truth. The internet is mainly porn. When I say that, I'm not saying that, oh, it's like, you know, Pornhub, X videos or whatever all over the place. No, it is. I'm saying this. The influence, everything that's sold to you, everything that's marketed to you, everything that's now presented to you is presented to you through sex. Sex. All the time, no matter what they're selling to you, it's always sex. Either you're shown an attractive woman looking very alluring. People are like, oh, well, you can't say that's sex. Yeah, but you also have to know the science of the colors and the way colors play into things, the way music plays into things, what kind of music, you know, when to raise the volume levels on the music, at what scenes, what angles to you know, shoot from. All of these cause infractions in your mind, the way light reflects in your mind. It makes you more likely to do certain things, to pay more attention or to pay more attentive ions. You pay more attention to it, you know, and you lose more of your common sense. You're no longer thinking for yourself because you're paying too much attention to the lure of other things over there. But, you know, this has been a rather lengthy one. You know, I just wanted to kind of do a little impromptu video, you know, just kind of, you know, let y'all see my face a little bit while I'm in here working. I'm actually in, you know, in my little spot working, but it's your man, Honorable October 9. This is the Art of Thinking Out Loud podcast. Click the links below. Hit me up. You can donate. And I appreciate everything. I'll be back with more. You can also check out all my other social media outlets and everything. Hit me up, especially on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter. You know, I need y'all on Twitter. So, yo, holla at y'all. Peace.